friends, and welcome back to my channel. If we've not met before, my name's Brenda Dunn. I go online by Art and Jest, and today we have a very interesting art supplies review because I just went and got a whole bunch of goodies from Ikea. So I don't know if there's anybody out there who hasn't heard of Ikea, but if you haven't, they have been handing out Allen keys along with flat pack furniture for as long as I can remember, and pretty much every single university student has purchased an Ikea bookshelf. No shame in that game, but I have to say I was kind of surprised when I stumbled across a section of art supplies on their website. But you know, I am a sucker for a little bit of adventure, so I went online and purchased every single thing that they had in the art supplies section, and today we are going to try it. First things first, we're going to pull our goodies out of this big old blue bag. We're going to do a little swatch test. I'm going to figure out something to make, and then we're going to talk about whether I thought they were worth it. If that sounds like fun to you, stick around. Okay, let's start by unbagging all of the goodies that we got at Ikea. First things first, I got this giant pack of paper. There's a whole bunch of different colors of cardstock included in this. There's some pastels, there's some brights. There's also, I don't know, a couple of giant A3 size sheets. I have no idea if this stuff is graded mixed media, if it has any kind of weight or tooth to it. We don't know, but we're gonna figure it out. Very pretty, pleasing, minimalist packaging as per usual. Next up, we have this set of what I assume is some kind of acrylic paint. I mean, I have no idea. Also, it comes with what looks like it could be kind of a nasty brush. I don't know. We're gonna find out together. But they do come in these kind of chunky little tubes, and I like that. Then we have another set of utterly different paints. This is like a neons palette of what looks like it could be tempera paint, maybe watercolor. I mean, we're gonna find out together. I have no idea. Also, it looks like we've got a pretty cute range of colors. Very bright, very shiny, very pretty. And then to go with that, two sections of paint, we've got another little pack of brushes. They look almost exactly like the one that comes in this little pack, but I wanted to get a little range so that we could have a couple different brush strokes if we wanted. And then I got these big fat chunky markers that look like they have the little stamps at the end, which is adorable. I think it's so cute. Did everybody have stamp markers when you were a kid? I definitely did, and I think they smelled like stuff. I have no idea what these smell like, but we'll find out. And then last but not least, maybe the thing I'm most excited for, is this lovely pack of pens. Look at these pretty buddies. Great color range. Looks like they're felt tip markers. No idea if they're gonna be nice or not, but let's get to swatching and then we will figure out something we can make with this. Let's go. Okay, lovelies, let's talk about what I thought of all of these art supplies. First up, I just want to note that the swatch card that I did for all of these materials actually pleases me enormously. Like, look how cute that is. I was pleasantly surprised by the big old pad of Ikea paper. This felt pretty decent. It's definitely not a mixed media paper. It is good for dry media, and you will see how quickly I find that out very shortly. But first impressions, it's actually really lovely in terms of holding up to the markers specifically, and clearly it's a great size to hand to somebody little who maybe wants to lay on their tummy and draw on the floor. I used to love doing that. I still kind of love doing that. I wouldn't necessarily call it a super high quality paper. It's a little step above newsprint though, so if you're doing like larger warm-up drawings and things, I often do figure sketches and stuff, and I love having a bigger pad of paper. It's great. Also, when I first unwrapped it, initially I thought it was going to kind of fly everywhere, but no, of course not. Ikea would never do that to me. So in addition, I have these two lovely pads of kind of cardstock, which I didn't use in this particular video, but this one especially feels like a pretty nice weight, and it looks like they're both a beautiful color palette. This will be great for like printing on and things. So very pretty, super pleased with that. I got about a third, not even, of the way through my first attempt here, which you can see, and the paper just completely started to give up, which is totally fair. This paper is clearly not meant for wet media, and I was trying to make it do something that it wasn't really intended to do. So I decided that I was going to switch tracks so that I could give these materials an actual fair shake, and I ended up grabbing a pad of my tried and true mixed media paper from Strathmore. Obviously, this did not come from Ikea, but I do consider it a very affordable, accessible option. I'll link a spot that you can grab some in the description below. It's a pretty good all-purpose paper. I like these little pads because they're already a very compact size. So I decided what I would do is stick to my initial design-ish and just scale it down and put it on some paper that wouldn't actually work against me the entire time. And we ended up with this kind of cute little dino. I was surprisingly pleased with several of these supplies. I will say right off the top, Ikea delivered on its promise. Nowhere on any of these materials does it say artist quality or anything like that. These are very clearly what I would call a student grade, and they're honestly more being marketed towards kids. That said, I think there are some hidden gems in this haul, and I will tell you what I think they are. So I tried the little stamp markers, which are super cute, really fun. These are a huge novelty factor. I would definitely say in terms of function, these are just something that you would get for kicks. They are absolutely non-functional as far as any actual drawing or painting or anything like that goes. But if you're looking for something to entertain kids on a long car ride or something like that, these would be great. Also, they're a really nice, big, chunky object to hold. And there are days when that is incredibly pleasing and satisfying. So I would definitely say this is a wonderful thing to do. Also, I get the impression that these would probably be really fun if you're the type of person that likes coloring your own calendar or using a day timer, if you're into bullet journaling and stuff like that. These are actually a really cute little way to like mark off days, check boxes. If you're doing anything like that, I think these would probably be great bang for your buck, especially because stationery supplies can be really pricey, and all of this stuff was very affordable. I'll put all the individual links to this stuff in the description as well, but I will say that the whole thing altogether I think cost me maybe 40 bucks Canadian, which is very cheap considering the volume of art supplies I ended up with. The next thing that I tried out that actually I was super impressed by is these markers. Now, I don't know obviously how long they're gonna last, but first impression, this is actually a lovely little felt tip. It has a really nice, just like pretty typical kind of bullet nib. It looks like the barrel is pretty decently full. The design of them is really cute. I'm always pleased by a good Pantone. The color range in these is lovely. And I'm gonna be curious to try them out, layering them a little bit more on some actual marker paper, because I feel like I didn't really get to use them that much in this drawing, and using them over top of acrylic paint for line work isn't really the kindest thing to do to a felt tip marker. So I think they were actually probably performing in the least impressive way that they possibly could, and I still thought they were really good. So for a larger set, again, depending on how long they last, these are lovely. Super impressed. The next thing that I tried, and actually the thing that I think I am most impressed by, was these little tubes of, I'm assuming, kind of acrylic-based paint. This stuff was lovely. The texture is really nice. The color payoff is actually totally decent. They have a pretty good opacity. They actually blended and mixed together really nicely, as I would expect. I also get the impression that if you wanted something inexpensive to paint on wood with, if you were doing any little at-home projects, or again, if you wanted something that you could just hand to a smaller person so that they could play around with them, these seem like they'd be a great option. They also have a little flip cap, which again, I would expect really good packaging from Ikea, but I was pleasantly surprised. These are a great size. They seem very portable. They seem like they seal really strong, and the color range was not bad for just a little wee kind of primary and tertiary set. It also looks like they deliberately did the actual primaries, the tertiaries, and then like a magenta cyan yellow combo so that you could mix pretty much anything, and they did mix very, very well. So overall, super impressed with these. The last thing that I tested out, and the thing that I think actually was decently good with one exception, was their little set of brushes. Now, I thought that the bristles were going to be the thing that bothered me about these brushes. It is not. The bristles are totally fine. I'm sure there's some kind of synthetic. They're decently soft. They actually softened up in the water pretty quickly. They took to the watercolor and the acrylic very nicely, no issues with either, but they got these dinky little handles. Now I get it, Ikea, I get it. It is probably easier to flat pack these. It's probably much more cost effective. It's probably a big part of the way you were able to offer them inexpensively. However, Having a stubby little handle on a brush is the pain in the butt, because when you need to clean your brush, you gotta dunk its face in a cup of water. And partway through, I ended up switching from the mason jars that I usually use to a little smaller, stubbier jar, just so that I wouldn't have to dunk my hand halfway in the water to fish out my brush from in there. This is a minor issue. Again, if you're just looking for something to play around with, these were totally fine. But IKEA, I have seen your stock. I know that you have tons of wood. You could easily have made this just a little bit longer, you know? The last thing that I tried that again was pretty good for what it is was the little pan of watercolors. Now, these were actually super cute. The thing that impressed me the most was that there's a couple of sparkly ones up here, like some kind of eyeshadow palette, and they had surprisingly lovely little bits of glitter in them, which was very pleasing. Why not some glitter and some neon? Why do we need to separate our palettes only into earth tones? I thought these were quite cute. I would definitely call these like a lower quality watercolor, but often if you want to experiment with some pan paints, you do not need anything expensive to have a lovely experience. I would say that this is a great option if you wanted to just dabble, if you wanted to play around in watercolor, and you wanted something that felt like it was a little bit low stakes. The one thing that I will say overall for all of these supplies is that you benefit from putting the materials on the right kind of paper. So if you're interested in trying out any of the wet mediums, if it's anything that's sort of paint related and you're going to be adding water and you want to be adding layers, just go ahead and get slightly higher quality paper. The one thing that's probably going to work against you to the point of detriment is having paper that isn't meant for the media that you're applying it to. Other than that, these were all a great option. I could see them being a super good possibility if you're buying for a bunch of people at once, if you want something that's inexpensive so that you can ship it or send it to people, if you're looking to surprise a kid, use it in a school. These all seem like they super check out, and it was actually pretty fun to use them. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, friends. As always, if you haven't done so already, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel if you can't get enough. You can always check me out over at patreon.com/artandjust. Big love to the Patreon fam. You guys are the reason these videos are possible. If you're not familiar, Patreon is a monthly subscription service where you pick a tier that you'd like to support, and I send you all kinds of extras, behind the scenes, early access, artsy goodies, and other sweet stuff in return. Once again, thank you so much, you beautiful people, for watching. I hope you're having a fantastic day, and I hope you get your hands messy with something this weekend. Other than that, I will see you on the internet. Bye, friends.